will tell you there is a huge bearing in relation to the prevalence of certain non-communicable diseases and the feed that our animals feed on, and consequently human beings consume those animals, be it in poultry, be it milk, or be it beef or pork, Honorable Speaker. And there are indeed, there is scientific evidence that there are certain diseases that have been transmitted to human beings as a result of consumption of food that came from animals that had consumed feeds that were not safely produced or that were not fit for consumption by human beings, and therefore should never have been consumed by animals that will then become food to human beings. 3, Honorable Speaker, it seeks to the promotion of the use of scientific-based risk analysis. Honorable Speaker, this is very important because, as I was saying in my earlier statement there, without any scientific-based risk analysis, all manufacturers of animal feeds, for instance, Honorable Speaker, or even human food, have no basis of determining what ingredients they put in the feeds that they are producing. Honorable Speaker, you find people who are buying feed nutrients and importing them from other countries. In some instances, Honorable Speaker, we have seen instances where people import nutrients that are banned in their home countries, and they are then utilized to produce animal feeds here, and they consequently become harmful to our health. No wonder, Honorable Speaker, the prevalence of certain cancers. And again, Dr. Nyikal will bear me witness that there are indeed certain cancers. And I think the Committee on Health did also note that during their deliberations, that there are certain cancers whose prevalence in a way can be connected to the kind of feeds that are fed to animals, and then human beings consume products from those animals. Therefore, with the promotion and use of scientific-based risk analysis, we shall therefore be in a position where our country will be able to use scientific-based risk analysis to determine whether certain nutrients are useful to our human bodies and our animals, and whether they are safe for both animal and human consumption. 4, Honorable Speaker, is the promotion of food safety and feed safety, which I don't need to overemphasize. The 5th, Honorable Speaker, is the promotion of fair trade practices in the conduct of food business and feed business. Honorable Speaker, as I mentioned, the largest culprits, Honorable Speaker, are the producers of animal feeds, our livestock feed producers. And the Honorable Agnes Pareyo will tell you, because she comes from a livestock rearing community in Narok North and the entire of Narok County, that very innocent pastoralist farmers are made to buy feeds that are produced by business people who are engaging in very unfair trade practices, Honorable Speaker. Therefore, there are no standards as to the level of nutrients, whether it's vitamins, whether it's calcium, whether it's proteins or carbohydrates that you need to input in animal feeds. And because nobody is regulating these people, they produce feeds that are filled with carbohydrates and proteins and no vitamin or mineral contents. And gullible farmers, because of these unfair trade practices, are allowed to market, the traders are allowed to market these feeds to very gullible farmers in our villages and in our rural areas. And the farmers innocently buy the feeds, believing that the feeds will allow their animals to gain weight and produce more milk or beef products. But woe unto them, Honorable Speaker, they end up spending a lot of money without any meaningful input onto the animal health of their animals or even increasing productivity. Honorable Speaker, because this government has purposed to ensure that we increase productivity, not just of the food that we are producing, Honorable Speaker, and that is why you have seen the President overemphasize on the need to use fertilizer. And I'm glad that the government, as from last week, Honorable Speaker, has now reduced the cost of our subsidized fertilizer going to our farmers, right from the 7,000 shillings that was there before elections, Honorable Speaker, to 3,500. And last week, the President did announce that the subsidized fertilizer now will go at a price of 2,500 shillings. all in an effort to increase productivity of our food productivity in the country. The same, Honorable Speaker, goes to increasing productivity of our livestock farmers to ensure, Honorable Speaker, that our farmers can be able to feed their animals and they're able to gain weight and they can be able to sell them for meat products. Those that are producing milk, Honorable Speaker, are able to produce more milk or more liters per cow than they could produce earlier. But this can only be possible if we have a system where the food safety regulator or the food, this office of the food safety controller can assure farmers who are buying animal feeds for their dairy cattle that that feed will increase the productivity of their animals, and therefore put a little bit more coins or more money into the people's pockets, as we did promise during our campaigns, Honorable Speaker, that ours will be about what we call pesa mfukoni, or putting more money into the pockets of our farmers, both our pastoral farmers and our crop farmers. Honorable Speaker, the last is to increase efficiency in the performance of official control. As I said, Honorable Speaker, the myriad of agencies and authorities that have been regulating our feed and food safety, there hasn't been any efficiency in how our food and feed, either production to processing to consumption, Honorable Speaker, is being controlled. But now there will be greater efficiency with the enactment of this bill. And as I said, with the creation of the Office of Food Safety Controller, that is in Clause 6 of this bill, this will be established as a body corporate and a state office as defined under Article 260Q of the Constitution. Honorable Speaker, the bill further provides that the county governments shall perform the following functions with respect to food safety and feed safety. Honorable Speaker, as I mentioned, it's important to distinguish the two roles of the two levels of government. Therefore, the bill has gone to list the following as a function of the county governments. One is to implement and enforce food safety and feed safety measures. Two is to license and exercise official control of persons who conduct food business and feed business. Because, Honorable Speaker, the committees did note during their deliberations and their scrutiny of this bill and in their engagements with stakeholders that there are many people who are producing food in their backyards, others are producing animal feeds in their farms without being licensed, and therefore nobody really knows what ingredients these people are using. Many others are also importing ingredients, as I said, some mineral nutrients that are even banned in their countries of origin, but are being shipped to our country and being incorporated into our feeds for our livestock. Three is to conduct capacity building on food safety and feed safety. Of course, as I mentioned, amongst our farmers, because they have that task, our county governments have agricultural extension officers who will therefore be able to build and enhance capacity building on food safety and feed safety with our farmers and consumers back in our constituency and in our backyards. Four is to conduct public awareness on matters of food safety and feed safety. The county governments will also prepare county food safety and feed safety reports. Six, they will also provide a platform for the consultation and cooperation of county governments and stakeholders in the implementation of a multi-annual control plan. Seven, they will conduct audits to ascertain compliance and enforcement of food safety and feed safety measures. Honorable Speaker, this is quite important because, as I said, what has been lacking is a system where even our county governments can enforce those who are licensed to produce, whether they are producing food or feeds, animal feeds, Honorable Speaker. There lacks a system where our county government officers can be able to scrutinize whether all these food and feed producers are in compliance with the law, whether they're in compliance with the relevant health and feed safety measures. And therefore, the county governments now will be able to institute such control measures and conduct regular audits in all enterprises and institutions, Honorable Speaker, that are producing food and feeds, either for animals or for human beings. Honorable Speaker, they also coordinate food safety and feed safety activities. They will also regulate and enforce official control, and finally monitor and evaluate implementation of the multi-annual control plan. Honorable Speaker, I don't need to belabor all the other functions of the national government because these are provided for in the bill, and members will be able to scrutinize the bill. And I believe those who have been able to look at the committee report, will see the issues that were raised by stakeholders during engagement with the two committees, both on the health concerns of the animal feeds, especially that our animals are consuming, and also concerns on the handling of food right from post-harvest, Honorable Speaker. And I must commend again the Kenya Kwanza administration, because last week again His Excellency the President did announce that in anticipation of the bumper harvest, especially of the maize, following the maize subsidy program, the government is now investing in acquiring or in the procurement of food and maize dryers to ensure that all the food that will be harvested this year is handled safely. Honorable Speaker, you know from the area you come from in Uasin Gishu County, crossing all over to Trans Nzoia County. And indeed, last week, Honorable Speaker, even as I traversed Nyeri County, I noticed in Narumoro, in Kieni constituency, and I'm happy Honorable Shieni Wairaina is here. I saw farmers who had spread their maize by roadsides to dry their maize, Honorable Speaker. And these are some of the issues that this bill will be speaking to ensure that farmers are not drying their maize out in the sun by the roadsides. Because, Honorable Speaker, when you do that, you expose the maize and other crops that we dry using those traditional drying methods to other elements like lead that is coming from the vehicle exhaust systems. That lead gets embedded onto the maize, and in a way, Honorable Speaker, it ends up in being harmful to our bodies. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, we must commend the government that now government is taking measures to ensure that when farmers produce maize, they will be able to dry their maize in an environment that is safe, in an environment that will be healthy, and an environment where Kenyans will be assured that the end product of that maize packet, maize flour packet that they get from their local supermarket is maize flour that has been grown or produced, transported, dried, processed in a very safe environment, Honorable Speaker, and therefore very safe for human consumption. Honorable Speaker, let me not belabor much because I had the hard task of choosing who to second this bill, since it was processed by two committees. But the Honorable Pukose prevailed on me that this is more to do with health, that we are talking about health safety. Therefore, he did request that he seconds, and I want to beg that he seconds, but also beg your indulgence, Honorable Speaker, that you allow the Chair, Agriculture, to also contribute to this bill, because he is one of the very major stakeholders. With that, I beg to move. And to second.
Hold on a moment. Honorable members, I wish to recognize the following schools who are in the Speaker's Gallery. Eronge Adventist School from Bochari constituency, Kisii County. Tasai School from Embakasi West constituency, Nairobi County. Garissa Academy from Garissa Township constituency, Garissa County. You're all welcome.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I stand to second this bill. I stand to second this bill, the Food and Feed Safety Control Coordination Bill 2023. Madam Speaker, on the onset, I want to thank my colleague, the Chair Agriculture, the Honorable Mutunga, member for Tigania West, for having graciously co-chaired this bill together with me. I also want to thank the office of the Majority Leader that was also ably represented during our public hearings on this bill, on public participation, that we were able to do consultations with the office of the Majority Leader, being the major sponsor of this bill. Honorable Speaker, we had many interested parties in this bill, both from the Ministry from Agricultural sector and also the health. We had the PS Health representing the team. We had also members of the Public Health Union coming and making their presentations. And we had also CAPES and other AFA and other institutions who came in with their amendments and proposals. Honorable Speaker, I want to thank both the Committee of Agriculture and the Committee of Health for having actually attended all these meetings, and we had enough quorum and a lot of interest in this bill in far as creating this coordination body that will coordinate the public institutions in food and feed safety. Honorable Speaker, this office is a state office, and at one stage we were debating whether it should be domiciled in agriculture or domiciled in the Ministry of Health. But we feel that this is one of those offices that will be under the presidency, and through the executive order, the president will be able to place it properly within the presidency so that it can be able to coordinate all these other competent public institutions that are involved in food and feed safety. Honorable Speaker, one of the biggest challenges in this country is how to bring all these bodies together, how to bring the public health side together, how to bring those in the agriculture sector together to make sure that the food that we feed and the food that we take to sell in other markets in the national community meets the standards. At one stage, Madam Speaker, we were debating on whether do we adopt international standards when it comes to food or the national standards. And I think it became a very heated debate. But lastly, I think we agreed that, you know, Kenya adopts international standards. And if we have to go to the market, then we must use the international standards that are agreeable internationally. Although other countries, their standards might also differ. But all in all, we must be able to go with the international standards, because that creates room for us to be able to make sure that if we are going to take our food out of our country, especially those involved in food business, then that food must be able to meet international standards. We are talking of avocados, we are talking of maize, which might be able to sell within other regions, and many other foods that our country is able to produce, tea, coffee, and many other foods. We're also talking of animal feeds. And once we have this food safety and feed safety coordination controller, then we expect that this controller is able to bring all the public institutions together. It's able to bring those public institutions together to ensure that the food and the feed, both to our animals and both to ourselves, meets those required standards. The Majority Leader has given issues about at times you even watch, at times you are traveling on the road and you look at some of the vehicles, lorries, carrying vegetables. The vegetables are carried in a lorry and in an open place with all dust falling into it. So I think that will be things of the past. At times you walk along the road and you see also people involved in meat butcheries, carrying meat in their bags. I think these are things that should be able to be done away with. And I remember at one time, even we had motorcycles and the bicycles bringing food to other institutions. I wouldn't want to say it is Parliament, but when we were in the Food and Catering Committee, we saw that some motorcycle bringing food for members to eat in Parliament. So I think these are things that should be done away with, and with the food and feed safety controller in place, we expect that they'll be able to come up with regulations. And some of those regulations are best enforced through self-regulation, whereby you as an individual who is involved in food and feed safety must make sure that the food that you're going to give to somebody else to eat is fit for yourself to consume, not just for business, but you feel that this food is good food, safe, it is not going to be harmful to anybody else. Because when you look at our Constitution, Article 43, 1D, and Article 46, 1D, it ensures that the food that we are providing must be safe and good, and make sure that it is healthy for the person who is going to consume. So with those two remarks, Madam Speaker, I want to second.
Honorable members, I now propose the question that the Food and Feed Safety Control Coordination Bill, National Assembly Bill number 21 of 2023, be read a second time. Let me give the first opportunity to member for Garissa Township first, because he's got students here from his constituency.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. On behalf of the House, I would like to take this opportunity to welcome all the students from all the mentioned schools, and in particular, Garissa Academy. Garissa Academy is one of the first private schools which was established in the whole of Garissa County. Interestingly, it's one of the schools that's owned by non-locals. That means non-Somalis from the region, which was established in the early 90s. It's one of the best performing schools in the county of Garissa, which is domiciled again in my constituency. I take this opportunity again to advise all those students who are here, who've joined the House, to take this opportunity to learn as they aspire to be the next leaders of this country. On that note, Madam Speaker, I also want to take this opportunity to contribute on the bill which is or the motion which is on the floor of the House. As has been said, we are talking about the food and safety of our foods that we eat and the feeds for our animals. Madam Speaker, as you might have noticed, this country.
Well, come on. Hi, I'm Mr. Beadle.
On sewage lines. It has been reported in the past about that issue, food, feeds, and which has grown. We have markets, we are expecting international markets for our animals, and that means we should be able to take care of the kind of feeds we give to our animals so that they meet the international standards. If you are to export any food item out of this country to Western countries, or Arab, Middle East, we face a lot of regulations, tests, procedures of how that food is handled from the growth period, from the production period to the packaging to the export. So I highly welcome the efforts of both committees of the House, that is Agriculture and Health, for the good work they have done. Thank you, Madam. Speaker.
I also wish to recognize Kapsabet Highlands Chesumei constituency, Nandi County, Sikri Junior Academy, Kasipul constituency, Homa Bay, Antasia School, Embakasi West constituency, Nairobi County. You're all welcome. I'll give the chairperson for agriculture.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, for the opportunity to also contribute to this particular bill. Honourable Speaker, the Food and Feed Safety Coordination Bill comes in basically to coordinate the control of safety in feed and food. Safety is important, Honourable Speaker, because lack of it would lead to infection and infestation. Lack of proper coordination, Honourable Speaker, on which institution plays which role basically leads to duplication of functions. And duplication of functions waste not only the time and resources. Honourable Speaker, lack of clarity also is important. I mean, it's critical so that you do not waste time when you are dealing with the issues of food. This particular bill does come in to amend a number of acts. It will amend, Honourable Speaker, the Food and Drugs and Chemical Substances Acts. It will amend the Kenyan Dairy Act, the Fertilizer and Food and Animal Foodstuffs Act, the Pest Control Act, the Meat Control Act, the Biosafety Act, and the Standards Act as well. The Kenya Plant Health Inspectorate Service Act, the Agricultural and Food Authorities Act, the Fisheries Management and Development Act, the Water Act, the Health Act. So all those acts are going to be amended in order to bring harmony to the functioning of the competent authorities that are supposed to be handling the food issues in this country. When I speak by competent authorities, I'm referring to institutions that have the mandate to clear our food, either to come in or leave this country. When we import food from other countries, we rely on information be given by their competent authorities, which are recognized internationally. Our competent authorities in this particular respect, Honourable Speaker, the Council of Governors is hereby recognized, the Kenyan Bureau of Standards, the State Department for Public Health and Professional Standards, the State Department for Crop Development, the Pest Control and Produce Board, the National Biosafety Authority, the State Department for Livestock Development, the Plant Health Inspectorate Service, the Nature of Kenya, and also the Kenya Association. These are the participants who basically brought their presentations, some of them being competent authorities. The importance of having the competent authorities coordinate is because in the past, some of them have been claiming to play certain roles, and therefore these roles at some point have some duplication. Honourable Speaker, the other issue that is important is that we need to control feed safety, because lack of safety on the feed may lead to people eating food that is dangerous. So we need to be sure that the feed that is fed to our animals is safe. A classical example, Honourable Speaker, is a feed called, it's a fungal infestation that is called aflatoxin. Aflatoxin, toxicant, can affect a human being. If we feed our animals on mold and grain, those animals are most likely to transmit or pass that particular fungi to the human beings. On the other hand, Honourable Speaker, some diseases called zoonotic diseases affect both human and animals. And diseases related to feeding, which could be of zoonotic nature, need to be contained in view of making sure that we have feed safety. So food safety, feed safety, in the other ones, is actually food safety, because the feed fed to our animals may at the end of the day affect ourselves. So there are institutions globally that are charged with the responsibility of ensuring that the safety of food is well done. And in this particular respect, we have Codex Alimentarius, to which Kenya is subscribed. Kenya, having subscribed to this Codex Alimentarius, basically ensures that Kenya's competent authorities in food matters are recognized. Honourable Speaker, the reason why counties cannot possibly do business directly without passing through the national government is because competent authorities are single in a nation. We do not have more than one competent authority in a country handling a specific issue. So we cannot have 48 competent authorities, every county having their own competent authorities, and then the national competent authority. Kenya will be expected to have only one competent authority, and that is why coordination, when it comes to intergovernmental relations, is very important when it comes to selling our products out there or importing our products from other countries. Honourable Speaker, consultations were rife on many issues concerning the food and feed safety issues, and discussions abound, Honourable Speaker, clearly brought to the fore that there has been confusion, and this bill comes in to clear the confusion that lies in the handling, the issues of food safety control. That is why the establishment of the Office of the Controller is important, and the Office of the Controller will have regulations upon which the office will play to ensure that every competent authority will do their work the way it's supposed to be done. The Office of the Controller is not going to be a competent authority in itself. It will be an institution that will oversight the functions of the competent authorities, and therefore we shall ensure that the issues of food and feed are taken care of. Honourable Speaker, I support this bill. Thank you.
Honourable Member for Emuhaya.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Let me take this opportunity to congratulate the chairs and the committee members of the two committees who have worked on this particular bill. That is the Committee for Agriculture and Committee for Health, to actually put in place a particular institution office that will be in charge of food safety and also control basically everything about food that we are consuming. Not only food, but also